Namato Ratanatayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Zem, the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. So today is Sunday 31st of May 2020. This is Ajahn Sujan from Varapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. And good evening everyone. This is, as usual, I am here with you. Hello Sanon, hi Sarala, Sukyo, Margaret, hi everyone, hi. So this is another beautiful Sunday, and we've been having a really good time out here, particularly this weather, having this woodland and kitchen garden and this lovely day. It's really nice to go around and enjoy. If you're around, you can come and visit the center as well, in a safe distance. So we were having kind of a picnic here with a safe distance keeping in our mind. And meanwhile, we are still working in a barn, so this is what we are at the center, and it's quite nice to hear that the talks and the guided meditations are helping members who are listening to deal with this time and some of the emotional difficulties. And this today again, Sunday morning, from the morning time until the late afternoon, I've been engaged with the talks and talking to the different people in different issues. Particularly this morning, I was engaged with so-called the young people's mental health problem, and which is quite sad to know, quite sad to hear. And the story again is not that serious, but if it goes on, then it can lead to the serious damage. And this is what I have seen. And I was talking to this lady or girl. She's about just 19 years old, but because of the lockdown, unable to see her kind of a boyfriend, and boyfriend suddenly told that we'll break up, and with that she was very upset and couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, always crying, and became a very aggressive, and also become very angry to anyone, and constantly thinking of kind of taking her own life. So it was a really stressful time, but however, after talking to her maybe around 2 hours on the phone, finally was able to help her. So this is how it works, and I believe it's not just a little girl that has got the problem, but also other family members as well, and other like even the grown ones, adults, are also facing similar difficulties because of this lockdown. And in this case, it is not because they are apart, but it's because living together has caused a significant problem. And in these cases, I believe that if you able to be there and actively listening, then definitely it helps them, and if possible, in a signposting to get the help from professionals. So these are some of the things that I think we should be considering at this time. And again, this is since the easing of the lockdown, and people are feeling more free, and also feeling like wanting to go out and enjoy the city, or enjoy the mountains, and enjoy the nature. And it is obvious that because of the lockdown, being indoor for almost 2 months, and suddenly it's like we are just coming out from the prison and wanted to explore everything and enjoy. And particularly in Scotland, in Aberdeen, it's after this immediate ease of the lockdown, it's a beautiful sunny day like this. Everybody wants to enjoy and get it done, enjoy in this way. And this reminds me a story at the time of the Buddha, that the Buddha was residing at the Jeta's grove, in the Anathapindika's Jeta's grove, the grove that was donated by the millionaire Anathapindika, who bought that grove and donated to the Buddha, and in which monastery the Buddha stayed most of his life and taught most of the time, and most of the discourses are from that monastery. And in that discourse, Buddha was as his way of living and consulting and counseling people during the day, and in the night he normally the scripture says, and the Buddhist believe that will communicate with the devas, or the celestial beings. And in this particular sutta, the Buddha was the scripture, the discourse says that while the Buddha was residing at the Savatthi, this Anathapindika's Jeta's grove, in the first hour of this night, the Buddhists believe that in the first hour of the night will be dedicated. Buddha dedicated this time for the celestial beings to come and discuss, and question answer time. And on that day, and on that particular day, one of the celestial beings came down and spoke with him, and had a conversation with him, and immediately after having a friendly conversation with the Buddha, this celestial being asked the Buddha that because he knew that the Buddha had liberated himself, and he was the Buddha, and he fully liberated. Having understood that, he didn't realize that how one could liberate by themselves. So when he came down and discussed with the Buddha, and he asked the Buddha a question, that how did you cross the flood? Okay, how did you cross the flood? And having understood the intention of this celestial being's question, Buddha again, in order to what is called the conceit, in order to destroy the celestial being's conceit, that which covering and also confusion and feeling that being a celestial being is more greater than being the Buddha. So the Buddha simply questioned back, saying that I crossed the flood by not halting, and also by not straining. Okay, and not halting, so not stopping and not doing anything either. So that's the basic the simple explanation of that. So this flood again, what the flood, the flood is basically the metaphysical question, and the flood here simply mean that the samsara, this coming and going, and then we just continuously flooded by we coming and going into the samsara simply because of our mind and our hearts been flooded by these qualities, and that quality, first one is the sensual flood of sensuality. It's called the kamoga. Yeah? Oga means the flood. Kama means the sensuality. So the first in our life, we are first thing that we overcome ourselves, is or flooded inside us is the sensuality. Eye sees beautiful things, and then we just enjoyed it, without knowing the reality of it, and then we just entertain with this view or this object or the visible object that we come across, or the sound that we hear. Again, overwhelmed by the beautiful sound, like you can hear this, the birds are singing here, and it's overwhelmed by this bird singing, and the comfortable or the good taste of foods, like that. So whenever we come across and we test it, normally one who hasn't trained and hasn't freed from this kilesas, every time when we come across with these sensual pleasures, or so-called the kama guna, the five senses that comes to contact with the objects, we normally overwhelmed and entertained with that. So that's the way we become flooded with these. And when we are flooded with that, we will not be able to overcome. So basically the flood will just take us away into this cycle of a birth and a death. So that's the first flood. And the second flood is that so-called bhavoga. Oga means the flood, power means the existence. So longing to be existence in any forms, and that is, I think, is one of the thing, like we want to be exist. And whenever we comprehend, or whenever we talk about nirvana or the nibbana or the extinction, it's very difficult to grasp, and normally there will be a question that what I will be after I attain the nibbana. So it is what I will be. So they're looking for the existence, and we are again flooded by that. So we constantly with that sense of wanting to be and not wanting to be, and it's not just wanting to be as an entity in one form or another, but also in a practice of a meditation, this is also comes as well, that when we meditate, immediately we want to go to kind of a different jhanas, attainment of the different jhanas and ability to be in that jhanas. And that's the reason why we have different questions immediately, and there are so many doubts and understanding that I meditate and I want to be in the jhanas, but when we ask questions, they even don't know how to put the shoes on, and thinking of climbing up to the mountain, top of the mountain. So they have to learn how to wear shoes. And that's exactly the practice of a meditation. We have to develop from the wearing of shoes and the finding of proper shoes, so we can go for a walk. And that's the attainment of the jhana, and looking for that jhana, and we stuck in there. So in terms of the nibbana, again, existence and our minds are so flooded by this concept of my existence, and this is again, if we look at the genes system and why there is production or reproduction or reproductivity is going on in a human body or human society, is that we have some sort of a gene that is working, and the gene itself is trying to find out that after this person or this body dies, want to make some other person to carry on their genes. So this is and in a genetic way, as a gene itself is also looking for the continuation, and that's how we find for the existence. And in the same time, that's in our mind too. We also want to be exist somewhere, somehow, in some state. And that's why when we talk about the nirvana, some time of a nothingness or emptiness, people feel weird and cannot comprehend that. I remember a few years ago there was one gentleman from Nepal. He rang me and discussed about this concept, and somehow during the conversation about the nirvana, when I say the nirvana is basically means the extinction, it's like the fire that hasn't got the wax to oil to make it continuation. And then the question he put me was, where is me, where I will be? And immediately I understood that this ogre or this flood, that we have this preconcept of existence that we want to be, and that's also a result. As a result of that, we do not know how to stop in one place, and we're constantly driving, or we're constantly working towards something. Again, we do not know what it is that we are looking for. So that's the second. And then the third, again, the another thing that always take control or overwhelms is our own concept, the own understanding, and we take that understanding or perception as the truth, and with that, holding that truth again causes a lot of trouble, and not able to let go. And then lots of fundamentalists, or even the Buddhists, if they call themselves that this is the only path and this is the right path, but the rest of others are not, and that sort of having a mindset, so-called views, then again that is also known as the flood. So we are flooded by that view, and when we are flooded by that view, then again we cannot overcome. So we will not be stopping to claim it, and also we will be striving to further on in that. And this is, again, it's like when you go to study somewhere or something, and if they're normally given as a cup full of water, you cannot add any further more water. So that's the concept behind of this flood, and if we are really looking for it, basically we have to empty the cup like that. So that's the views, flood of views. And then the third one is like simply ignorance, and this ignorance is basically, we do not know what should be known, and sometimes we just ignore it, and we are happy, contented with what we have, like that, and not thinking of eradicating all the defilements. And because of these the dhammas, or these principles, or the what is called fundamental things that flooded in our minds and our heart, always as a result we strive for something, we want to get something out of it, and we never know how to stop. Okay, and with that we work so hard, and yet we do not know what we want it for. And there are plenty of people, those who are working or doing something so hard but do not know what they want, and like that. And that's simply because our mind is polluted, and our mind is not trained, and our mind is not purified, and as a result of that, these sensuality, this wanting to be and not to be, and this having this septic view of this is the right, this is the wrong, and then having ignorance always will be there, and causing us to not to be free from that. So, and the Buddha is simply saying that, but the one who has freed or overcome these ogres or these floods, they simply will not halt, okay, will not stop, and yet will not do anything. Yeah? So it's called how to explain this, straining, not halting, and as well as not straining. So not halting here means simply not stopping, but in the meantime not doing anything. Straining or putting too much effort, or unusual effort, make unusual great effort to change something, like that. So this is how one can overcome. And then this time of the year, and now because of the 2 months of a lockdown, and people are just beginning to come out or beginning to go back to the works, going back to the work, and this time it's quite a bit of a stress, and also quite a bit of a energy we have to put it in. And because of untrained, and because we have still this defilements, or still wanting to be and still wanting to entertain, and this sort of mindset we still have, as a result, this time when you're going back to the work or going back to the normality, need to be very careful by not putting too much, and also not having a fear. But that doesn't mean you don't have a fear. You do have to have a fear in some sense, but not as a fear to stop you doing so. Like these things needs to be properly understood, and going into that, and rather than overcome or overwhelmed by your senses, and then taking that this lockdown is freed and we can do whatever we want and whatever we wish to do, regardless of not worrying about this infection or this effect of this virus. Yes, we know that it's stable, but doesn't mean that the virus is not there. It's still spreading. So rather than overwhelmed by this easing of the lockdown, so just to be mindful, and rather than again thinking of your own existence, and think of how you will use this time for yourself, and to the cultivation of eradication of this septic view, and having this firm one view that this is the right one, like that. So these are some of the principles I think we can apply during this time of this pandemic, although it was asked by the celestial being to the Buddha, but I think this is the time that we can use it in this time of the difficulties too. Okay, so I offer this as a tonight's reflection, and I hope you're enjoying this sunshine, and enjoy the rest of the time. In a few minutes time we will have evening chanting, and then we'll have a guided meditation, so you're most welcome to join with us, and otherwise you can come back for the tomorrow's evening talk at 6:30, and chanting and meditation at 7:30. As I said normally, that if you can't make it for the talk or the chanting, I encourage you to come for the meditation, and we can meditate together for the better and happiness of our own and as well as others. And also it's a form of sending our love and kindness to rest of others as well. So with this I end tonight's talk here. May the Buddha bless you for your good health and safe, and take care. And most importantly, thank you very much for listening and joining with me every night. So we'll see you shortly. Until then, good night and thank you. May the Buddha bless you. Sadhu, sadhu. Sadhu Siraj, sadhu David, Suresh, Manish, Sarala, Margaret, sadhu. Thank you everyone. We'll see you shortly for the chanting and meditation.